Hi there, I'm the _twig, and I like analysing game rules. D&D Playtest 8 is out, and honestly, I'm going to say it up front, this is the best playtest doc they've done. Almost everything in here is just a gigantic improvement that addresses almost every problem I had. Today though, I'm focusing on the monk. So to remind you all, I thought that Playtest 6 monk was actually fine for the most part. Their damage was okay, and depending on your subclass you could get some reasonable utility or defences. Although, to stress, that did depend on your subclass. Unfortunately, there are a few very specific issues which completely massacred the class. Once those problems had been addressed, I would have been happy to give it my stamp of approval. These guys all get my stamp of approval though. They support me on Patreon and have access to my Discord, where we had a good discussion about the monk. Quite a few points in this video are thanks to them helping me analyse their new features. Extra thanks to SK, who has a thing for people cosplaying as nuns, but thinks that actual nuns sound boring. Anyway, those issues that they needed to overcome. There are 5 of them. Going from most to least severe, grappling and shoving needed to be dex-based. Weapon and armour restrictions needed to be removed or lessened. Something needed to be done with Stunning Strike to make it not awful, preferably making it weaker but more consistent than 2014. The bonus action needed to have less competition. And for a bonus point, there needed to be some more stuff for discipline point management at lower levels. As a reminder, that's the new name for key points. Also, the class needed to be renamed to Brawler, but that's unlikely to happen at this point. So, into the monk playtest, and we're starting in the Proficiencies block because they now have martial weapons that have the light property. That means the short sword, scimitar, and hand crossbow. That's actually gigantic. Monk now qualifies for most of the combat feats like Charger or Sentinel, which just gives them so many options. The hand crossbow is of particular interest, but I'll bring that up again in a bit. Now down to actual level 1 features. Martial arts brings back the concept of monk weapons, which is all of the weapons that monk gets proficiency with. They can use dex and your martial arts die again, which is just fantastic. This feature also makes grappling and shoving dex-based now, which was my highest priority issue. So far this feature is exactly what I wanted. The last thing that it does is it says that the bonus action unarmed strike is just a bonus action. This used to say that you had to take the attack action first. Whilst I would have preferred my original solution of making unarmed strikes nick weapons to free up the bonus action, this is actually incredibly interesting, because it can now be done before you use the attack action, or whatever else you were planning on doing. That means that you can shove prone and then attack with your quarterstaff. Alternatively, you can use the dodge action and then make an unarmed strike, instead of doing it the other way around, which would use a discipline point. So yeah, this is not specifically what I asked for, but it is a good and interesting change. Martial arts alone has addressed the grappling and shoving issue and the weapons restriction issue. Next, unarmoured defence is unchanged. Monk's discipline, previously martial discipline, previously key, is much better. The discipline points themselves are the same, but there is a change to all features. First up, flurry of blows has also been disconnected from the attack action. So you can shove 2 people prone and then make weapon attacks, or you can cast a spell that you multiclass for and then flurry, or whatever else you want to do. Again, not what I wanted, but this is a good and interesting change. Patient Defense and Staff of the Wind are worth talking about together. PD now allows you to spend 1 DP to both dodge and disengage, and you can also just BA disengage for free. And Step has the same functionality of allowing you to dash, disengage and double your jumps for 1 DP, but also allows you to just BA dash for free. In effect, this is that age-old request of let us do Step of the Wind for free or both things for 1 key. There's some nuance to how this is broken up, but I'll talk about that in a bit. For now though, all you need to know is that Monk can finally dash or disengage as a bonus action with no discipline points or key necessary. Also worth a quick mention, in 2014 I think that Patient Defense was just about the best thing you could spend your key on. It gave you the most return on investment. Now though, I think that you'll often be better using your action to dodge and then using martial arts or flurry of blows. Obviously when you want to be doing damage you'll want to attack as well, but the dodge action is worth thinking about. Also at second level is a new feature, Uncanny Metabolism. In the sidebar over here it says that they've just renamed the Playtest 6's Heightened Metabolism, but that's not true. This is a completely different feature. Once per long rest, when you roll initiative, you can regain all of your DP and heal by your monk level plus 1 martial arts die. At second level that's 1d6 plus 2, but it obviously scales. This feature is so nice. It gives you insurance that no matter how long ago your last rest was, or how quickly you've drained your DP, you will always have a full pool for the boss fight at the end of the dungeon. The fact that it's at level 2 is also great. Previously, the equivalent Heightened Metabolism feature was at level 7. and whilst this was also nice, the 5 levels which most needed it didn't have it. With Uncanny Metabolism at 2, the martial arts BA attack being disconnected from the attack action, and the free disengage and dash, I think that I'm happy to say that my bonus point issue of low level discipline point management has probably been met. Only probably because I've not actually playtested it yet. Moving on, unarmoured movement at 2 is unchanged. I'm going to circle back to this in a bit. At 3rd level though, Deflect Missiles has seen a huge upgrade, turning into Deflect Attacks. This now works on BPS melee attacks as well as ranged attacks, which is incredible. That is going to come up so much more often. In effect, for the cost of your reaction, you can now reduce the damage you take almost every round by 1d10 plus dex plus monk level. At 3rd level, you're expecting about 11.5 average damage reduction, or 7 absolute minimum. Additionally, the effect spent at DP to redirect the attack also got buffed. It's now a dex save to do 2 martial arts die plus dex, although if you're redirecting a melee attack, the new target must be adjacent to you, which shouldn't be that uncommon. This is now the most DP efficient way to boost your damage. You can also deliberately trigger it by provoking opportunity attacks. If the attack misses, cool, that's a bonus action you didn't waste disengaging. But if it hits, you can send their sword right back at them. This is just a super efficient defensive feature. Deflect Missiles also enables some actual monk tanking. Let's say you're fighting a group of bandits with melee weapons. You can start your turn by using Flurry of Blows and grapple 2 of them, because your DC is now set by Dexterity and Flurry of Blows has been disconnected from the attack action. You can then use your action to dodge and then drag the enemies away from the party, forcing them to attack you. On their turn, they have disadvantage to hit you because you're dodging, and even if they do hit, you can deflect attacks to reduce the damage, and maybe even throw their attack back. Whilst you aren't doing very much, if any, damage, you are effectively taking 2 bandits out of the fight, allowing your party to focus down on the remainder. In card game terminology, that would be 2-for-1 removal. Not bad at all. Continuing on, air size, slow fall, and extra attack are unchanged, and then we get to Stunning Strike. This feature as a whole was my 3rd biggest issue with the monk. What I was really hoping for was something along the lines of Rogue's new Cunning Strike or Barbarian's new Brutal Strike. A list of options that you could apply to your attacks which may or may not involve discipline points and saving throws. We didn't get that, but instead we got an update which means that if the enemy succeeds on your saving throw, they instead take 1 MA die plus whiz damage. I don't like it, but I'll take it. This is effectively equivalent to Mercy Monk's Hand of Harm and is an okay damage boost. I'd much prefer utility over damage, but fine, this will do. There's a few weird things though, relating to the fact that the enemy doesn't take damage if they fail the save. First up, I just don't understand why, but second up, imagine you're fighting an enemy with stun immunity, like a Revenant. They are incentivized to voluntarily fail their saving throw because then they won't take the damage. That just doesn't make sense. Right then, let's bring the hand crossbow proficiency back into the equation. Stunning Strike now says that you can use it when you hit with a monk weapon. That means that hand crossbows are 30-foot stun guns. That's a genuine niche. You can also do the same thing with short bows at 80 feet, or you can do 20 feet with daggers if you get what I'm insinuating by mentioning daggers, the single most improved weapon in the entire playtest. Giving Stunning Strike a little damage on its success and making it ranged is not what I wanted, but I will give it a passing grade. It's just barely scraping a C. Next is Empowered Strikes, Evasion and Acrobatic Movement, all of which are unchanged. 10th level brings a new, really cool feature called Heightened Discipline. This just improves all of your Monk's Discipline features. Flurry of Blows has been upgraded, so it's now 3 unarmed strikes for the price of 1 DP. That's great value. When you spend the DP on Patient Defense, you now also get 2 martial arts die of temp HP. Currently that's 2d8, but it goes up to 2d10 at 11th level. That makes your Monk tanking even better. And there's also no time limit to these temp HP, so if you're going to do short rest, just burn all of your remaining DP to try and roll that full 16 temps. Third, Step of the Wind gets a really fun upgrade. When you spend DP on it, you can choose 1 adjacent ally, and they just run with you. We spent a good while in my Discord talking about this. You can use it to get an ally out of danger, or to get an ally into melee if they were just out of range. Maybe you could also use it to activate Booming Blade's secondary damage, or to trigger a Shuttle on Stride. Also worth mentioning is that the specific wording is you move the creature with you until the end of your turn. At this level, your monk is dashing 100 feet, running across water and up walls, and it looks to me like your ally can just follow you. They get to run across water too. Where this becomes even more interesting is when we look at the Elements monk. At 11th level, when they use Step of the Wind, they get a fly speed and a swim speed for 10 minutes. That means that you should be able to have an ally fly with you as well. Warning that they will fall at the end of the movement though. Side note, if you want to playtest this with an Elements monk, I recommend changing this feature so that it only gives you fly and swim speeds when the monk spends DP on step. Otherwise, Elements monk will have a permanent 100 feet fly speeds. Even more interesting though is the Shadow Monk's 17th level feature, Cloak of Shadows. This allows you to walk through walls. I think that Step of the Wind means that you can have an ally walk through walls with you as well, although if you stop in a wall, God knows how your DM will rule that. Side note, fun combo. Get a suggestion on a Shadows Monk. Maybe you're a Yuan Ti or something. Use it on the BBG saying, when I run past you, you should agree to follow me so that I'm in range of your attacks on your turn. Then you Step the Wind and they'll be a willing creature. You can quite literally put them 6 feet under, or like 60 feet under. You do have the movement for that. The next feature, also at 10th level, is Self-Restoration. At the end of your turn, remove the Frightened, Charmed or Poisoned condition, no action required. That's actually relevant, because there are several features like Hypnotic Pattern, Fear or the Carrion Crawler's Tentacle Attack, which also remove your ability to take actions. Self-Restoration now beats all of these effects. Good. At 13th level, Deflect Energy now means that your really good Deflect Attacks reaction works on all damage types, not just DPS. It's an even better reaction now. Discipline Survivor at 14th level is unchanged. This is the PHB's Diamond Soul. It gives all saving throw proficiencies, as well as rerolling failed saves for 1 DP. Great feature, no changes necessary. 15th level, Perfect Discipline is the old monk capstone, but it's actually functional now. If you have less than 4 DP and you roll initiative, you go up to 4 DP. You no longer need to be completely out. Good change, but it's still a mediocre feature to be honest. Between short rests and Uncanny Metabolism, you probably aren't using all 15 DP very often, unless you're being incredibly reckless or your DM hates you. At 18th level, Disciplined Survivor got a buff. It's now 3 DP and no action required to get resistance to everything except force for a full minute. That's an absolute bomb of a feature. I'm now going to break for a moment and talk about what I consider to be the second most pressing issue, weapons and armour restrictions. Weapon restrictions was addressed, so I'm happy with that, but martial arts, unarmoured movement and acrobatic movement all still stop working when you equip armour. As such, I don't think that this issue has been addressed as I framed it, however that's because of my framing. What I was actually getting at is that monks' defences sucked. Let's take another look at it now though. At first level, the unlocked bonus action attack means that you can dodge as your action and BA disengage, no discipline points required. At second level, you can now disengage as a bonus action for free, and at third level you can reduce the damage of your melee or ranged BPS attacks using your reaction. At 7th level you then get evasion, and at 10th level, when you use patient defense, you can now also give yourself temp HP. At 13th level, your reaction can now reduce the damage of all attacks. And at 14th level, you have all save proficiencies and can reroll fails. Finally, at 18th level, you can get resistance to almost everything. Monk defences are fine now. I don't think that they actually need the armour. I've already mentioned monk tanking multiple times in this video. That's a legitimate thing that you can do now, and it's not even that expensive in terms of discipline points. Grab tough for your background feed and you're absolutely dandy. I will say that I would still like to see light and medium armour multiclassing be acceptable, if only because it means that strength monk could conceivably function, but I no longer deem it an issue. Genuinely, well done WotC. I'm not even going to make a joke about cookies or stickers. That's a great job you've done there. Finally, the capstone, level 20, Body and Mind. This is new, and it's probably the single best capstone in the game. Plus 4 to both Dex and Wiz to a maximum of 26, increasing your attack rolls, your damage, your saves, your DCs, and your skills. That's just all around excellent. So, base monk class. At the beginning, I had 5 issues. Number 1, Dex grapples and shoves. That's been addressed. Number 2, weapons and armor restrictions have been addressed or mitigated. 3, stunning strikes I'm giving a passing grade to. And number 5, low-level DP management, that's been addressed. Issue 4 was the bonus action clog, and I don't think that this one has been adequately addressed. Obviously, Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind are all competing for the BA, but I think 3 options is okay. I would have liked to see the martial arts bonus action attack be part of the attack action itself, but what they've done is fine. That gives you a decent decision to make on each turn. The issue here comes from the subclasses. Shadow's Shadow Step and Cloak of Shadows are both BAs, and Hand's Wholeness of Body is as well. Elements of Mercy do manage to get away with no bonus action features, however. It's almost there. It's really close, but I can't quite call it passing yet. As it is though, this was the 4th of 5 issues, and the rest were good enough. So I will say that this monk class will do. I won't call it good, because I don't think it is, I think that it's fine. Probably still near the bottom of the ranking, but it's not noticeably worse. As my friend Sir Atlas said, they are, in a word, viable. Now, before we get to the Hand Monk, I want to look at some more macro-scale overlooks of the Monk base class. I've already looked at Defenses, so let's look at some Offences. The way that I like to do this is to look at the repeatable resourceless damage. Some of you may know that I kind of obsessed over resourceless damage for a bit. If you're unaware, here's a video, go watch it, it's good and is absolutely stupid horse tech. For the Monk, I decided to look at 2 builds, both with no subclasses using 0 discipline points. This is like a worst case scenario damage calculation. It's incredibly easy to improve from here. Build A gets Charger at 4th level, plus 2 dex at 8th level, and plus 2 dex at 19th level. The other ASIs don't matter, but I assume you'd put them in like Whiz or something to increase AC and DCs. That has no impact here though. Monk B also gets Charger at 4th level, but then gets a new feat called Weapon Master at 8th level, gets Grappler at 12th level, and then gets plus 2 dex at 19th level. For their Weapon Mastery, they'll pick Dagger for Nick. In all of these counts, I'm assuming 60% chance to hit if you're increasing your attacking stat at 4 and 8, and I'm assuming 60% chance to fail the grapple save under the same conditions. I'm comparing against a playtest Warlock and an optimized playtest Fighter, again with no subclass. The Warlock has cast Hex and Eldritch Blast, and the Fighter is optimized so that they use 2-weapon fighting at low levels and get relevant combat feats like Polearm Master, Charger, and Great Weapon Master at higher levels. And here's the results. As an absolute worst case scenario, you're in the ballpark of a Warlock, and sometimes a Fighter. It's really easy to improve this by multiclassing, picking a relevant subclass, or just simply using your discipline points for Flurry of Blows, Stunning Strike, and Deflect Attacks. Damage-wise, that's a passing grade. Next up, multiclassing. From those Monk B calcs, I think it's pretty obvious that you really want Dagger Mastery for that extra Nick attack. There's a few good ways to do this. Fighter 1 gives you a fighting style, probably 2-weapon fighting, or maybe archery if you're maining that hand crossbow. Barbarian 1 gives you rage, for the earlier resistances if you want to focus on your monk tanking, and the rage damage boost also applies to your unarmed strikes, although it likely won't apply to the dagger attacks themselves because you'll be using dex for that weapon attack. Next up, Rogue 1 gives you sneak attack, which is fairly self-explanatory, and finally Warlock 1 gives you Pact of the Blade, some cantrips, and Hex, which is actually relevant given how many attacks you can make. That is another bonus action though. The other option for getting Dagger Mastery is to just pick the Weapon Master feat like I did in Monk B. That lets you go straight Monk if that's what you'd prefer to do. As for multiclassing into Monk, I think that the most relevant ones are probably Melee Druids and Valor Bards, who want to get a bonus action attack. I don't think it's exactly a top pick for either of them, since you'd have to go shirtless, but it's an option that exists. Also Paladin if you're just trying to build Jonathan Joestar. Finally, let's look at Warrior of the Hand. Open Hand technique has Adel go back to requiring no save, although it's now just denying opportunity attacks instead of all reactions. As was pointed out in the comments of my cantrip video, that's because for some reason they're now designing monsters with multiple reactions instead of legendary actions. For some reason. The big thing here is that you can now use Flurry of Blows first, so you can topple enemies before making your other attacks or whatever. But next level you could get the Grappler feat to do a similar effect, and you could already just shove with Flurry of Blows anyway. This feature isn't bad, but it's not exactly Element Stretchy Arms or Shadow's See-Through Darkness. Wholeness of Body is now a 0 DP bonus action to heal 1 martial arts die plus whiz. I'm not exactly going to be using this in combat when I could instead just dash 90 feet out of there. It also conflicts with Open Hand technique. You can't do both of them in the same turn, and the Mercy Monk could already do something similar to this but better. Honestly, this would actually be better as an action instead of a bonus action. 11th level is cool though. Fleet Step basically says that you're always dashing, and you can spend 1 DP, no action required to do the Run With Me effect from the improved Step of the Wind. That's pretty nice. Finally, 17th level Quivering Palm got changed so that you can now trigger it by spending 1 attack from the attack action, although the damage got reduced again by no longer including your monk level, and the cost was increased to 4 DP. This again benefits from the fact that you can martial arts or Flurry of Blows before using your action, so you can place the vibrations and then trigger it on the same turn. This is not the most efficient use of your DP. Flurry of Blows is way better accounting for topple, giving advantage to subsequent attacks, but it is a Nova averaging at 51.9 DPR assuming a 60% chance to fail the save, and you still get to make 1 more attack. Overall, Hand is meh. I think that Fleet Step is definitely the premier feature, But at 11th level, Elements gets 10 minutes of flight, Shadows gets to teleport and attack with the same BA, and Mercy gets to heal 3 targets by 1d10 plus Whiz. Actual final thing, quick look at the other subclasses. I've already mentioned that Mercy's Flurry of Healing and Harm is 50% better now that Flurry of Blows is 3 attacks, and that Elements and Shadows can do funky stuff with improved Step of the Wind. But I think it's also worth mentioning that Shadows can now make attacks on the turn that they cast Darkness, so they're even better, and that Elements can push and pull more often with Elemental Strikes. They can also Flurry after Elemental Burst, and Step of the Wind is even more encouraged thanks to Destructive Stride. Thanks for watching. Monk is looking okay. I could deal with this being in the PHB. I think I want to do the Barbarian next, because they made some really good changes, both to the base class and the World Tree subclass, and it's looking pretty nice. If you want to make sure you see that, subscribe. Thanks again to my Patreons for helping me focus my ideas, and to Truant Monk and D4 for getting their video out early so I could copy their notes and get considerably less excited than they did. Bye!